Good day, Dr. Macon. My answer to question number one is telepresence robots are commonly used to stand in for tour guides, night watchmen, factory inspectors, and healthcare consultants. For example, in a distance education class, a telepresence robot can move around the room and interact face to face with individual students, just as an on premises instructor might be. Another example is in business. A telepresence robot can be used to help an employee whose disability or location prevents them from traveling but still have a physical presence in the office. The two most commonly available brands in my opinion are Omni and Padbot P2. Now, I say this because whenever I search them on Google, these two brands are always on top of the list. So between the two brands, I chose three main differences that I think is imperative. So the first is the crash avoidance, and the second is the bandwidth required, and the third is the runtime or the battery usage. So the first is the crash avoidance. I think is imperative because you don't want your robot to be crashing into another human or another person, and that will hurt the person, and that will be liability to you or to whoever is the manufacturer. And another thing is you don't want your robot running into a fence or a wall or whatever that can break it as well. And the second is the bandwidth required. For Omni, the bandwidth required is 5 megabits per second, and for Padbot P2, it's 4 Mbps. So I say this is important because you want your telepresence robot to be efficient when in a meeting or wherever or however you want to use wherever you use your telepresence robot. You don't want your telepresence robot to be disconnecting from the internet or anything in that nature. And the third is the runtime or the battery usage. I say this imperative because you don't want your robot to be dying or having not enough battery in the middle of a discussion or a meeting. So these three I think are the most important things when considering buying a telepresence robot. To answer question number three, I would feel okay about it because every person's situation is different, and there are just things that we can't control, and these are just unfortunate events that happens to a person's life. So I just have to adjust with the situation and give empathy to that person. Now, to answer the second part of this question, how would it be different having the person in class in the flesh? It would be different because a person in the flesh, you will see the physical gestures, you're able to communicate through physical contact, and there are just things that you can do if a person is physically present. However, it will still be similar to a person in a telepresence robot because you can still communicate with a person, you can still talk to him, and he can still be as effective as if he was physically present. To answer question number three, but the second part about my friend Chris accidentally piloted a robot into a collision with another classmate named Pat, causing Pat to be injured. Is Chris responsible for the injury? What do you think should happen? I think Chris is not responsible for the injury. I think the manufacturer is responsible for the injury because why didn't they put crash avoidance feature on that telepresence robot, or it could have been fixed so that no one would get hurt and no one would suffer from the situation that happened. So I think Chris is not responsible, and I think what should happen is a person should communicate with the classmate that got hit, and the classmate should know better that this robot doesn't have any crash avoidance, that it could hurt him or her when he gets crashed into the robot. So I think communication and just more openness so that this unfortunate events can be avoided. Question number 4. I was not able to see the film Surrogates by Bruce Willis, but I was able to read the extensive review of Roger Ebert, and I think this film is very interesting just because we're in that age where we're on that path, like that's where we're heading into the AI. You see all this autonomous driving cars, this Alexa, Siri. These are the base of AI and robots. Like this is the foundation. And as we innovate and progress into the future, and maybe 5 years from now, we'll see the first Android, human Android, and they'll be able to live like a regular human lives. And that's I don't know yet. I don't know what would I feel about it, but okay, to answer the question, do you believe this is a positive or dangerous step for humans? I think this is very, very dangerous. I think if we go over that borderline where robots start taking over our lives, I think that's very dangerous. I think that's one ingredient to destruct our lives because we'll lost the essence of living in this earth. We'll, we will lose a lot of things like our love for our family, our the socialize that we do outside, and just the communication and the fun of living, the fun of having to experience different situations that happen to our lives every day. We'll lose all of those if we let AIs and robots take over our lives because like surrogates, we won't be living our house. We'll stay at home, then we'll have these robots do the daily tasks, daily chores of life, and that's very, very scary. And I think this world is okay with AI and robots, but up to a certain extent that it should not take over humans' life, in my opinion. I think we still have to feel that we are in this world for a purpose and we are not on this world just to live the life through a robot. So that's my take on this film, and yeah.
Say hello to Double Robotics' brand new Double robot. It's called the Double 2. Double 2 is a telepresence robot for when you just can't make the meeting. It's got a number of exciting new features. It can go twice as fast as before, so you can zip around the office. It's got lateral stability control, which means I can finally roll over wires without tipping over, and has a really cool new widescreen camera so you can see 6 people in the meeting instead of just 2. Costs $24.99, which is just as much as the last one. Also got a cool bundle for $3,000, which gives you the charging base, the camera, and the audio kit. All of this is coming out at CES 2016, and we're gonna try it out. So this is Double Robotics Double 2 updated interface, still in beta, still a couple of things are changing. This is what people see on the robot. I've got audio control, so I can speak through the robot. I also can hear what's being said. We drive on the computer using the keyboard. And you see it handles all that pretty well. This is pretty weird. I'm meeting with myself. Hey Lance, good to meet with you again, every day. Call your mother, call your wife, and don't forget to eat lunch. It was a good meeting.